Hey folks, how's it going? Plastic Guy here, coming back with another figure review, and today we're taking a quick look at this Mezco Michael Myers Halloween action figure. I say a quick look as I picked this up loose on eBay, and he came as we see him right here, no accessories included apart from the hands that are currently ported onto the figure and the one knife. Nonetheless, this Mezco Michael Myers is a bit of a grail for me. I've collected the majority of NECA Michael Myers Ultimate Action figures, and we've took a look at most of them here on the channel. I managed to snag this for around £40, which I don't think is too bad, considering coming across this piece is becoming more and more difficult each year. I rarely see it for less than £100 complete with the box and whatnot. I've seen a couple loose on eBay for around £50 to £70, so getting this for 40 as is, I'm pretty happy with. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Let's jump right into the video. Before we do, guys, let me know down in the comments section below, what is your favourite Mezco horror action figure, or what is your favourite horror character when it comes to these slasher villains? Mine is definitely, most likely, Michael Myers. Terrifier's getting up there though. That Mezco Terrifier figure looks really cool. I'm very tempted to check it out. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and let's jump right into this video. So let me throw up a picture of what this Michael Myers figure came with at retail, which is around the £100 price mark. I know right now if you want to pick up that Art the Clown Terrifier Mezco 1/12 action figure, you're going to have to pay between £110 and £120 at retail, and I have always thought that these Mezco figures are on the pricier side for a 1/12 scale figure, hence the reason I don't really have any. I think this is the very first Mezco figure that we're taking a look at here on the channel. I do have more Mezco figures in the collection, but this is the first Mezco that I've really played around with and posed the most, definitely. And so yeah, wasn't 100% sure on what to expect. Taking a look at what he did come with, you know, it's not that much more than what you get with your NECA figures, which retail around £40. I would probably be expecting at least some more weapons for the price mark that this figure comes at, but we'll revisit the price at the end of the video. I did get, so we got his main weapon, which I think is the main thing that I would like with a Michael Myers figure. We have this knife here, and it's painted beautifully. That red blood splatter on the knife looks absolutely terrific. And the rest of the sculpt's really good, the rest of the paint's really good. I'd say it is slightly better than the accessories that we get from NECA. I do think all the accessories included with the NECA Ultimate Action figures are great, but I think the blood splatter here is just slightly more finessed, and I really can't fault anything else with this knife. So the original figure I believe only came with one more additional knife, which was a non-blood splattered version of this. So again, I'm glad that this came with the figure as we see him for the £40 that I spent on eBay. The only other things that really came with the figure are these hands. Of course, he needed some hands. I wasn't going to pick him up without any, but there was a plethora of hands originally included with this Mezco Myers, and I would say I've got the best too. You've got this open grabby hand that he would use to grab his victims, which look pretty cool. You can see there's some dirt around the nails there, which I think is a really nice touch. And of course, on the other arm here, we have the hand that holds his iconic kitchen knife. So I'm glad to get the hand that will hold his weapon, and hopefully I can just use more weapons that have came with the NECA figures. I'm sure they will be interchangeable and I can use them with my Mezco Myers here, which was why I wasn't too bothered about getting this guy without all the other interchangeable parts and accessories. Hopefully I can grab them from other figure lines. And yeah, happy with the hands that have been included here. Taking a look at the figure itself, I want to start with the head sculpt here, and there's a wee bit of fluff on the cloth boiler suit here, or actually it just looks like a wee bit of the stitching. But looking at the head sculpt of this figure, this is why I've always wanted to pick up the Mezco Michael Myers. I love the look of this mask, and of course this is a 78 original Halloween movie Michael Myers. I don't think the mask necessarily is that screen accurate. I do think it is a wee bit off, but I love how it looks. I don't actually have any problem with it not quite nailing the 78 look. To me, this is like a really good merger of the 78 Michael Myers and the H20 mask. It looks like they have combined to create this look. And I'm no expert when it comes to Michael Myers masks. I can't quite nail it down as to why this doesn't scream 78 Myers to me. But I'm kind of glad it doesn't. It kind of creates this different, unique mask for Michael that you can only really see in this Mezco Myers figure. And it has just always appealed to me. I do think the eye holes are quite big. I think that is maybe what is putting this off a wee bit. And I say that sounds bad when I say it looks slightly off. But again, I really like it. I think the eye holes are just on the larger side, and I do think overall the mask has a sort of youthful look for Michael. He looks quite young, the mask looks young. Is that just me? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. But don't get me wrong, from certain angles, like looking down at it from this angle here, I would say that does look very much like the 78 Michael Myers, especially just the indentation in the cheek here. You can see that sculpted detail running around the side. That is definitely something that I think is familiar with that 78 movie. But just looking at him straight on, he looks like a young dude. I don't know what it is, but again, I love it. I think the hair's sculpted really nicely. I like how it sort of sticks out at the side here and at the back. And that is something that I do think screams 78 Myers. I do think the hair sculpted really well here, and it does give it a 78 Myers look. And it's definitely something that I've noticed when I've been taking pictures of this figure. Again, I do love the mask overall, but I just don't think it would be for everyone. If you're wanting a really movie accurate 78 Michael Myers, maybe the Mezco isn't your best option. Of course, we don't have a 12 scale NECA 78 Michael Myers yet, so your options are quite limited. We can take a look at one other option later in this video when I jump into some comparisons. But taking a look at his boiler suit here, you do get quite a large area of the under t-shirt. I don't know if it's a t-shirt or what he's wearing under there. Bringing in the Trick or Treat Studios, you can see that you don't really see as much of that t-shirt on their copy. But Mezco Michael Myers here, his boiler suit's nice and open. You can see that black undershirt, and you do see a bit of his neck there as well. You can pop the head off because it did come with a sort of alternative head originally. You got an alternative head that had the ghost sheet draping over it, so you could have that look to Michael. That's not an accessory that I'm necessarily, that is two long words there that I'm messing up. That is not an accessory that I'm necessarily bothered about missing out on. This is definitely my preferred look to Michael Myers, and so I'm not too gutted about not getting that alternative head ghost sheet look. But yeah, the head sculpt pops off pretty easily. And of course, with these Mezco figures, they do have cloth goods as opposed to the NECA Ultimate figures that are all sort of plastic. They do have their retro blister card sort of figures that are taller in scale and do have the cloth on them. But I've always been a plastic guy, hence the plastic guy name. But I really don't mind this cloth goods or these cloth goods on these Mezco figures. I think they've actually done a really good job overall. I do think the blue is quite bright. Halloween 78 is a really dark film, it's quite shadowy, and I've never got the impression that his boiler suit was this sort of brighter blue. You even see people saying it's actually like a dark green. There's a lot of discourse over Michael Myers' boiler suit, and so I do think this is slightly on the bright side, but it's not something that personally bothers me. Again, with the mask not being super accurate, I do really like the look of the mask overall. And I do think the boiler suit works well with the figure, even though it might be a bit brighter than what we see on screen. Now, I do think that the figure does suffer from age a little bit. What I was really excited about with this Michael Myers was it's a bit smaller than your NECA Michael Myers figures, and I like posing my figures round with other figures. You know, when it comes to Michael Myers or Ghostface, I want him hunting down someone. I want him, you know, doing what he does in the films, as well as taking shots off him individually. And so when I'm taking pictures of those NECA Ultimate figures, they're quite big, and posing them next to a Marvel Legends figure, you can see that the scale's off. So getting this smaller scaled Mezco figure, and again we will get into some comparisons, it works a lot better with Marvel Legends, and I was really excited to pose them around, and this definitely does have a lot more range of movement than a NECA Ultimate figure. I'm saying that there's not really any crunch forward or back, but you can get some swivel in the torso area. But what was quite disappointing was it only has single jointed elbows. I was really expecting to get his, arm moving right the way back. And you can see that it will move back. There's definitely some really nice range of movement on this figure, but I was surprised that we only got single jointed elbows here. I think the other thing though is, as you can see with the cloth goods, it does tend to bundle up and restrict movement as well. And that's probably my biggest gripe with the figure. I think it was really nice getting some more range of movement out of this horror figure, comparing it to a NECA, especially in the leg area. It felt a lot more natural, getting this guy in a more moving pose if he's walking towards someone. I feel like the NECA Ultimate figures are a bit clunky in the leg area, but I was definitely expecting a better joint system in the upper body, but this did come out a few years ago, and so I'm not quite sure if I can really hold it against Mezco as opposed to holding it against any figure that came out 5 or more years ago. I'm not actually too sure when this did release, but I do feel like it was probably before 2020. I'll need to look that up. So I do think it is a bit restricted from the time that it came out. But again, the movement in the legs is really nice and a lot better than what you get with your Ultimate Action figures. And then we have the boots here, and again, in the film it's very dark, it's very shadowy. I've not really ever paid much mind to Michael Myers' boots. I did watch the Review Spot's review of this figure. The Review Spot is one of my favourite action figure reviewers on the platform here. If you're not sure on who the Review Spot is, then please hop on over to his channel and check out his reviews, because he reviews a lot of horror figures, and in anticipation of picking this up, I revisited his review, and he thought these boots were slightly inaccurate to the original film, and I'll take his word for it. He definitely seems to be a bit more in the know on the original Myers outfit than I am, but I will say that these boots look really good. I love the different paints here, the different colours. It's definitely more appealing to the eye than just a simple black shoe. I do really like that green there, and you can see that the toe caps are slightly muddied there. I think they look great, but again, similar to the mask, they might not be spot on to the original look in the film. So for a 78 Myers comparison, again we don't have a 78 Myers from NECA, who I do feel like are the most accessible and affordable horror action figure company at the moment. However, Trick or Treat Studios are not far behind with their latest Scream Greats line. We did review this 78 Myers here on the channel at the end of last year, and it's a really cool figure. It's more of a statue, a bit of an articulated statue. I do think the mask is definitely probably slightly more reminiscent of 78 Myers than the Mezco here. I do think this is a bit more reminiscent of the movie to me. It's putting masks side by side. I do think the Mezco figure is definitely higher quality. I do prefer the Mezco figure overall, but I do think the mask is just a bit more accurate to the original film on the Trick or Treat Studios here. Going back to the scale as well, this Mezco figure is a lot smaller, and again I do prefer that. A lot more range of movement on the Mezco figure, and so if I was to choose a 78 Myers, it's definitely going to be the Mezco 1/12 figure. But I did want to point out, we were talking about the colours on the boots, there is definitely a green on this Trick or Treat Studios Michael Myers boot as well, so maybe the Mezco boots are accurate, and maybe the Review Spot lied to me. I'm only kidding. But yeah, this is a cool articulated statue. It's definitely a lot cheaper than your Mezco figure, but I would say the Mezco is coming out on top here. As I'm grabbing the NECA Michael Myers Ultimate Action figures, I noticed this hammer weapon accessory, and so I do want to see if that's going to pour into our Mezco Michael Myers hand here. Help if I put it the right way up and see how well it works, and I'm pretty happy with that. That actually looks really good. Some of the accessories might be on the bigger side, with the figures being a lot taller, as we're about to see, but Again, getting this figure a lot cheaper, but being able to use the weapons from other figures works really well for me. And so here we have our Mezco 1/12 78 Michael Myers action figure next to the NECA Ultimate Halloween 2018 Michael Myers and their Halloween 6 Ultimate Michael Myers action figure. Your NECA figure retails for around £45. I think it used to be closer to the 40 mark. It might now be closer to the 50 mark with the prices of everything going up. And your Mezco 1/12 action figures are retailing for around 110 to 120. Again, that is the price for the latest Halloween Terrifier Art the Clown action figure. And so there is a big price difference between these figures. But they are all really good Michael Myers action figures. For your £40 NECA, you do get a lot of interchangeable parts and accessories. We have taken a look at the Halloween 2018 Ultimate Michael Myers here on the channel. I have filmed a review of the Halloween 6 Michael Myers. I'm not quite sure if it's up on the channel yet, but it will definitely be released around the same time as this review right here, where we went through all those interchangeable parts and accessories. And I do think it really justifies the price point of a NECA figure, because on top of that, you do get a really good base Michael Myers figure, but they are very big, they're a bit clunky, and I do feel like the Mezco just has a level of finesse over the NECA. I personally much prefer the scale of the Mezco figures. As we'll see, they scale a lot better with Marvel Legends figures, which are the most sort of accessible and affordable 12 scale figures on the market at the moment, and it's definitely the most figures I have in my collection. And so I do love posing Michael Myers around with these sorts of figures, and that can be a lot harder to do with a NECA Ultimate action figure. I do think the range of movement is a lot more natural with the Mezco, and it's a lot nicer just to maneuver around. But do you really want to be paying that much more to get that with probably less accessories that I care about? Like, again, I threw the picture up at the start of the video, and honestly, I'm not too bothered about that ghost sheet or the figure stand. Some of the hands I'm not too bothered about. You only get the 2 knives. You do get a gravestone, but these NECA figures come with all that as well. And so, yeah, I'm not too sure where I stand on these Mezco figures at the moment, but picking it up for the price that I did on eBay, I'm really stoked with this thing, and it is definitely an excellent Michael Myers to have in the collection, as well as these Ultimate NECA action figures. Then to compare our Mezco Michael Myers next to another Mezco horror action figure, I've got the Mezco Ghostface here that I also picked up from the same seller on eBay in the same sort of conditions. No interchangeable parts and accessories, but for a much lesser price point, and I'm really happy with the Ghostface. I actually think with it being a newer Mezco figure, it is a bit better than this Mezco Michael Myers. Both of them look the part, but I do feel like the range of movement is a lot better than Michael Myers here, and I will check this Mezco Ghostface out here on the channel. I'll upload that to the channel soon, so stick around for that, where I can go over what makes this Mezco Ghostface a bit better than their older horror action figure here. As I said earlier in the video, I love posing my figures with other figures. I do feel like it allows for a bit more creativity at times, and for the last couple years I've been having to pose my horror figures from NECA because they are the kind of main company that I have for these horror films. Again, they're the most affordable and most accessible, and so I've been posing my Ultimate NECA horror figures with these Marvel Legends figures. For Marvel Legends, again, affordable, accessible, and you can sort of mix and match different figures to create really good civilians that you would find in a slasher movie. My favourite is definitely this hood mix-up. I've got the retro Peter Parker body with the hood head sculpt, and it works really well with the likes of Michael Myers. If you can imagine Michael Myers chasing this civilian down, that screaming head sculpt comes in handy a lot. But it is a lot smaller than your NECA Ultimate action figures, so being able to pose this much smaller Mezco figure with these has been a blast. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I now have this smaller horror action figure to be able to pose around with these other figures in a similar scale. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so there we have it for our 78 Halloween Michael Myers Mezco 1/12 action figure, and this is a figure that was on my grail list for many years. I've always loved the look of this Michael Myers action figure, and I've been really into my horror figures since I was starting collecting, and the only figures that were really accessible for me, as I was saying, are these NECA Ultimate action figures. I always thought Mezco were very pricey, but I always thought that they would be worth that price point. I always thought of other brands like Mafex and SH Figuarts, which I have a lot of here in the collection, and I thought that the Mezco would be worth that price point. But again, the Michael Myers, I sort of missed the release at first, and I kept my eye out on eBay over the years, and folk were wanting a lot of money for the figure and its original packaging with all the original accessories. I think most commonly I would see it for around £180, and I just wasn't quite willing to spend that much money on this figure. Would I spend £110 to £120 on this figure? Probably not. I do think it is a really nice figure. I do like the cloth goods, but it does restrict movement, and again, if you're a really hardcore Michael Myers fan, you might have a problem with the shade of blue here. It's just something I've heard other folk talking about. But personally, you know, I don't mind the boiler suit. I do think its age is really what sets this thing back. I do think if Mezco were to release it now, the range of movement would be that bit improved. Hopefully the boiler suit wouldn't really restrict the movement as much, but more importantly, I would at least expect double jointed elbows, some better movement in a sort of butterfly joint area, an ab crunch. I really like the movement in the legs, especially comparing that to a NECA figure, but I do just feel like the articulation is a wee bit outdated here, so I wouldn't really rush to spend that amount of money. But I do love the overall look to this figure. Again, I absolutely love the head sculpt. I wish that it just came with better weapons, really. I think the range of hands you get is really good. A gravestone's definitely a cool accessory. I don't really care for the flight stand. I mean, having a base is pretty standard, so I don't think that's really boosting the price up at all. I would love to see a re-release of this from Mezco with a more sort of, you know, this look to Michael Myers, the 78 Halloween movie, but having a sort of ultimate vibe to it where it includes a lot of different weapons from perhaps the other movies out there, the same way that the NECA Ultimate figures really jam-pack their figures full of different weapons. I feel like Mezco need to do the same to really justify that price point. Then I would maybe consider 110 to 120, but getting this as it is for £40, this cost me the same as a NECA Ultimate figure, probably just a wee bit less than a NECA Ultimate figure. I do feel like I've got the better weapon with the figure and some cool hands here. I'm not bothered about spending £40 on this. Again, it is a really nice base figure. I do feel like the figure itself as it is around that price point, but I wouldn't want to spend too much more. So yeah, overall I'm really happy with this thing. It might not sound like it at some points, but I think where my criticism comes from is Mezco have always been a very premium action figure in my eyes, coming from that price point. But when you actually get the figure in hand and you look at what this came with, it doesn't seem quite worth it to me, especially when you compare it to other figures out there on the market. But with this one in particular, it might just be due to the age of the figure and how long ago it actually came out. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. I said that this was going to be a quick look, and now it's been a very long look. I love to ramble, but hey, I love talking about action figures. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're down there, guys, if you could do me a massive favour and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button. As I said, we'll be taking a look at the Halloween 6 NECA Ultimate action figure, the Art the Clown Terrifier Ultimate action figure from NECA, and also the Mezco 1/12 scale Ghostface that featured in this video right here. Hopefully some others. I am really into my horror around this time of year, as I'm sure a lot of other folk are, and so Definitely want to get my hands on some more horror figures. I would love that Mezco Art the Clown, but £120 after posing this one around, I just don't think I can justify it, but it does look really good, and it has alternative head sculpts and a lot of different weapons, so it might be a better Mezco. I'm just convincing myself now to spend £120 I don't really have. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll catch yous on the flip-flop later. And I forgot to say, I'll leave the link to my Instagram in the description below, where I'll definitely be posting a lot of pictures of this Mezco Myers up over there, so it'd mean a lot if you check out the Instagram page. Thank you guys so much.